How many times have we been told that guns kill people, so we should regulate who has guns, what kind of guns, and how much ammunition it can hold? Many of you are members of the military or have friends and family that are in the military. Part of their service to our country is to secure and protect our rights. For more than half my life, I have owned and operated a myriad of guns, and never once has one of my guns killed anybody, and neither have I. We're going to look at our right to own guns, granted to us by our Constitution. We're also going to look at why governments would take away our rights, and why we would want to give up those rights. The Bill of Rights was given to us because our leaders knew that governments were not trustworthy. And the Constitution Convention expressed a desire to specify, to further restrict what the government could do. And our founding fathers knew from experience that governments were not trustworthy, and so we needed these clarifications. And the Declaration of Independence points this out when it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." And then it goes on to say that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new form of government. And laying its foundation on these powers shall most likely affect their safety. And it goes on to say, "But when the long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evidences a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide a new guard for their future." We all learned in grade school that on April 19th, 1775, when the King of England sent troops, it was to disarm the colonists. The preceding events led to our Second Amendment, which says, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." So we know how we got our right to bear arms. Let us look at why a government would want to remove those rights. Can you think of any other governments that wanted to remove the rights of people to own and keep arms? Well, Hitler's German government comes to mind first. Hitler said that the most foolish mistake we could possibly make would be to permit the conquered Eastern people to have arms. History teaches that all the conquerors who have allowed their subject races to carry arms have prepared their own downfall by doing so. Russia also has disarmed its citizens in 1929, and China disarmed its citizens about 1935. So why do governments disarm people? Why would the U.S. government want to so heavily regulate guns? As governments grow larger, the people who recall history know that governments, or that history will be repeated, and that the government, when it begins to overstep their bounds, they have to do something about it. The people still have possession of weapons, then the government can no longer take those rights away from them because they can fight back. So why would people be willing to have our right to bear arms so heavily regulated? Because we as people have been convinced that regulating the ownership of guns, we can reduce the number of violent crimes committed with them. And here are some facts. The U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI tell us that between 2010 and 2012, each of those 3 years, about 8,500 murders were committed using guns. Also, according to the Department of Justice, About 80% of those weapons were obtained without people going through the legal process. 40% of them were gotten illegally, and the other 40% were obtained from somebody they knew who owned the guns. The same report shows that gun ownership has increased even though the crime rates have stayed about the same. So you can see that over the last 3 years, the crime rate hasn't varied that much. However, gun ownership has gone up tremendously. We have to remember that people commit crimes. The tools they use are just that, tools for wicked people. The most regulations have done is slow the purchase of guns, nor has it significantly reduced the number of violent crimes. We should not allow our rights to be reduced or removed because a few people who are willing to obtain guns illegally kill others. We should ensure that our rights granted to us by our Constitution and Bill of Rights are upheld by our leaders and court system. Benjamin Franklin said, "Those who surrender freedoms for security will not have, nor do they deserve, either one." Thank you.